The arts ministry is under scrutiny. Artists in the arts and culture are divided on the new minister, Gayton McKenzie. The minister is being criticized for publishing a list of COVID-19 relief fund beneficiaries. This is what the music legend Phakela had to say.
It is his democratic right, to point out whatever he feels. It does not make sense to him. If he is taking that position, and he definitely has to fix the wrongs. So, I listened to him on YouTube. He was talking about the fans, the soccer fans, who are being funded to go to big events, and they accommodated as well. Meanwhile, I looked at it and I said, you know what? He is okay. He's right by, pointing out those issues, because there are great soccer players like Abo Bashin Matlangu. By the way, he was named after my song, who could be positioned to travel all around, to support soccer, and the soccer industry should also support them, because where do they earn from? They are not earning from anywhere, instead of taking those funds and give to fans.
He made a fair point, right? That there's a huge amount of resource that is being spent on these individuals, a couple, but it's multiple millions that are going to support various teams in stadiums across the world. But in the same breath, right? Let's come back to the publication on that list and how some artists have expressed vulnerability, because he pointed out, he might have said, Mercy Phakela received 10,000 Rand during COVID-19, right? It exposes you, right? Were you a recipient? Were you one of those recipients? Was there a better way of doing it? Was it a case of, okay, I have this list, let us analyze the list, and for the ones that look dodgy or suspect, let us then publish those names?
Oh, well, I did benefit from COVID once, but there are people who benefited timelessly, and we've heard of those things. If he has to monitor and investigate corruption within the Department of Arts and Culture, he has to do that.
And this is how Dr. Sipho Sithole voiced out his opinion or views.
The list comes out this week. The minister says this is who was given what during COVID-19. Over 4,000 artists receiving funds, some of them 10,000 Rand, some of them 70,000 Rand. What did you make of that release?
First, if I were them, I would go and get all of that money in cash, put it in a wheelbarrow, push the wheelbarrow to Madiba Street in Pretoria, and just put that money there on the doorsteps of the department and say, take it, we've insulted us enough. But before we get into that, today is 14 days before the biggest sporting event, which is the Olympics in Paris. If we were to ask South Africans, how many sporting codes are represented in Paris in 14 days and how many athletes are going there, the answer, no one would even know. If you ask them, do you know whose name was published or names were published by this department? They would probably, each one of them will tell you no less than 10 people. That is basically the current public narrative in South Africa by a department that should be focused on much bigger things than the list. And we'll get to the list. But let me say this. I've lived 32 years under apartheid and 30 years under democracy, or the so-called democracy. And for me, this is the first time where a department whose mandate, the department's got the biggest mandate in this country because it's supposed to unite South Africans. It's supposed to carry the heart and soul of this nation. It's supposed to advance this healing process that we've been embarking on since 30 years ago. But it has now been reduced to a department of publishing. It's a publishing department. It publishes lists of who got money and who didn't get money. That is what it has been reduced to. That is how sad this situation is. Now, the thing is that if you look at ESCOM, I think 5 days ago announced that it was losing 15 billion rands because it has been pumping 33 billion rands on diesel suppliers. Do you know who those diesel suppliers are? Nobody knows. Has they ever been published?
Let me step in there, Dr. Sithole. Isn't that part of the issue? Is that for the most part, what citizens want is transparency. And so easily the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture can say that we're doing this in the interest of transparency, to show you where our money is spent and with whom, as you make the example of with ESCOM and say, well, that's what we're asking for even where that is concerned.
As if it has never been done. That is the issue. The department and all of its funding agencies, they put out a call every year for creatives to come up with ideas to create, and they get funded, and then after that, it gets published. It's not the first time. It has been happening all the time. But what is said about this one is that we are making a mockery of a people who, during very difficult circumstances of COVID, went to government. They didn't go, actually, let me correct that. Government said, we are here to help you.
Let's hear, what are your views? How do you view this? Who's right? Who's wrong? Comment section right below.